Evenfall is a modern-day fantasy adventure story. It's about a girl who lives in our world, and following the loss of her mother to cancer, in her grief she falls out of our world into this dark fantasy world populated by monsters and magical creatures, and there she goes on a quest. Her name's Phoebe Shankar, which is intended to be kind of a powerful name that's evocative of gods and spirits and things like that. Because Shankar is a form of Shiva. And then Phoebe kind of relates to Phobos and so on and so forth. So it was kind of intended to be sort of a mythical, powerful, heroic name. In Volume 1 of Evenfall, it's kind of a very sort of biographical book. It's kind of a portrait of a 19-year-old girl in pain. She's dealing with the grief and the loss of her mother. It sort of has a Twilight Zone story kind of feel to it. It's, you know, it's like she's still living in the real world, but these magical forces are coalescing around her. And she's not sure if it's actually happening or if maybe she's just going a little cuckoo under the emotional strain of what's happened to her. You know, the appeal of it is that it has a sort of these two realities kind of one invading on the other. And I've always liked stories like that because, you know, I've always been a fan of like movies like The Fisher King and Labyrinth and The Never-Ending Story and things like that. So I guess it sort of has its roots in that a little bit. That part of it is completely autobiographical. You know, I was in my early 20s, and I just lost my mother to cancer, and there were a lot of feelings, and I had this kind of strange revelation one day. I was walking down the street, and I was walking down the street in Philadelphia, and I felt like I just wanted to sit down right there on the pavement, right there on the sidewalk, and just kind of lay there. Like, you know, there was no more energy left in my body. And I had this feeling then like I was falling through my entire life. And I got this image of a character kind of falling through time and space and through memory. And that was the germ for the story of Evenfall, and how Phoebe falls from one place to the next and winds up in this other dimension. In Volume 2, it's kind of a big turning point because Phoebe realizes that you know, these visits to this other world are perhaps not as innocuous or as illusionary as she thought they were. And at the beginning of Volume 2, she gets stuck in this fantasy world and realizes that she may never find her way back to what she thought was reality. So it kind of kicks into high gear, and that's when her her hero's quest through this fantasy world begins in earnest. The thing about good fantasy is it has to have something real at its core. And what's real at the core of Evenfall is that these emotions are real, and these reflections upon loss are real, and you know, they come from a real place. You know, fantasy is fun, and it's nice to kind of step outside of the building so that you can like see it for what it is, you know, whereas when you're inside it, all you can see is maybe the room that you're in.